meeting to order at 7 p.m. Would you please all join me in the pledge of allegiance? Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, one and all. Item number 3 is public comment. We will do public comment this evening. Yes, Joe, how are you?
Hi, Joe Arnott, 17 Wall Street. Regardless of our differences, whoever wins the election, congratulations, and I hope the best people win. I want to say that the last time I was here, I was very upset, to say the least.
We know that, Joe.
Yeah, I know you do. I let it be known. I want to thank Mayor Place for doing his job and what he could do for our town in the time that he had, and all of you. He offered to come over that Saturday to help me clean off my fence, but there was a young man that stopped while I was cleaning the fence, and it took us a couple of days, but we got it done. He asked nothing in return. And I want to say thank you to all of you for putting up with me.
No problem. No problem. Joe, it was a pleasure talking to you after last meeting, and sometimes things happen that we emotionally lose control of, what we feel and what we say sometimes. And but I'm glad to see the fence. I went by, as you probably know, several times to make sure that it was cleaned and taken care of, and it looks good all over again. So appreciate your patience as well. Some of the things that we do certainly are out of our hands in many cases, Joe, and when you're dealing with the court system, attorneys, in some cases the state of Connecticut, the federal government, there's very little that I find that goes along very quickly. So I appreciate your patience as well. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Naturally, I want to wish you well in your good endeavors, whatever you do from here on in. My name is Jeff. I have the jewelry store Abigail's Golden Cove right downtown here, next to the project at 88 Main Street. I don't know if this is the forum to bring it up, but I was in front of the honorable board, I believe in the spring of this past year, 6-7 months ago. And at that time, in front of the board, I said I was concerned that there was staging up and very little was being done. I believe the staging went up in April, of this past year. Now, now at that time it was like 6 weeks and not much was being done. I realized subsequently that there was some issue. The sidewalks needed a permit, and I think when I was here you were discussing that, which I think was May. I'm not exactly sure. I have my notes, but sometime then. And the fence basically almost goes up to my shop. It's within feet of where my store is located. I've had very little foot traffic and dirt since this occurrence. It's been going on, and the issue then was, I think, was something about a permit for $8,000 or $10,000, which hopefully I think you resolved. And sometimes after that, James Rose or Bruce Dexter, I'm not sure, got a permit. When it was, I'm not sure, but sometimes after that. And at any rate, during that time, after they got the permit, very little started to go. The people that have been working there during the time, what I observed, is a very skeleton crew. And when I was in front of the honorable board last time, it was my specific recollection that Mr. Rose, who was very hot at the time for whatever reason at the time, said unless he finishes it within 3-4 months, he'll be losing money. And the windows are being delivered the next week. So he needed a permit almost immediately when I was here, either in April or May or June. Now, the windows obviously still are not in. But what I'd like to say is I think it's 7 months or 6 months since the permit was formally. I'm not really sure when. No? Does anybody know?
July.
July?
July 1.
So July 1, August, September, October, November. So it's like 4 or 5 months now? 6 months?
4 months.
Yeah. All right, whatever. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure. I didn't follow through. But I just want to tell you There's been very little work there between Dexter's crew and Mr. Rose's crew, and obviously now we're heading into the cold weather. It's a terrible, there's trucks that he uses, like little hand trucks, I don't even know what they are, but they pull out to Main Street. A customer came in to me, said she was almost hit by one of these little trucks that were pulling out. There's no officer, there's no direction, there's a skeleton crew. I mean, I don't know where it is, if he got money for the project, if he did it, I don't know, I didn't look it up, but I thought I'd come to the board tonight to ask you if there's any way that some of this could be abated and finished, and the dirt and the sidewalk could get unblocked, because I don't know how much longer he could do cement work in this cold weather, and with this ice and snow, it's gonna be a terrible hazard waiting to happen. So, if some of the, if some of the stage or ladders could come down, anything would be an improvement after these 8 months or 9 months now. So that's what I'm here in front of you tonight. I'm sorry to have to bother you on your last night, but it's really impinged on business. And I would surmise more people would come. But however, I'm really the only one that's really critically affected. So I'm stuck with it. So I thank you if there's anything you could do in that situation.
I certainly make sure I talk to Delbert tomorrow. I know Delbert's been in contact with Bruce on a regular basis, and I'll talk to Delbert tomorrow as well. I did run into Bruce maybe a week and a half or so ago, and he did say that the windows were, he's in a position where the windows were going to go in very shortly. But I'm not sure how shortly that is.
Or what windows?
Yeah.
Because there's windows in the back of the building.
But they have, I know the windows are in, the windows have been in for quite some time. As to the, I don't know if Lee can add to it, but as to the reason why the windows haven't gone in, I
They
think.
gotta finish all the brickwork on the
Right.
facade and stuff before they install the windows.
It's
I
been a lot.
haven't seen anybody, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I haven't seen any, I've been looking, I haven't looked that close, I haven't seen anybody there in a week now. And the people that work there, there's 1 or 2 people on a regular basis that were there. So I don't know what he's thinking, he knows that it's getting cold, there's gonna be ice, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All right,
I'll see if I
maybe
can't reach Bruce tomorrow to ask him if
Appreciate
we
it.
can pick up on a timetable and maybe prod him along a little bit.
All right, thank you.
Can we get a timeline on that, when that staging can start getting done?
Yeah, I'd be happy to see, and I'm not sure how much of that staging, actually, we talked about it a little bit today, how much of that staging actually has to stay there for those windows to go in. I'm not familiar with the installation of those windows. Some of them go in from the inside out, some of them outside in. John, and I'm not familiar with it, but I do know that they were working on some trim or painting some trim or preparing the trim. I think that was a part of it as well. But I'd be happy to find out what I can. How's that?
I think the brickworks, I was on a friend of mine was doing some of the brickwork, and he said they were all, they're pulled out, they're done.
Yeah. I'll give them a call.
It would be nice to get that opened up again for the public.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very much.
Thank you. Further public comment? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Luce here, 145 Woodstock Avenue. Just a question for Doug, I was wondering if we had that situation settled?
I'll cover it in my town administrator's report.
Okay, if you could let me know, could you tell me offhand if the barriers are gonna be moved? They're all gonna be removed, I should say?
I think Danny will bring that up on the
Okay,
report.
that's all right. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Further public comment? Thank you all. Item number 4 in your packet, you have the minutes from the last meeting. What would be your pleasure?
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
A motion and a second, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Bonnie abstained. Item number 5 is petitions and communications. We have some letters in your packet. Letter dated October the 15th, 2013 from Willebrator regarding its follow-up report on October the 4th, 2013 mixing chamber pump failure. On October the 7th, 2013, force main probe malfunction. We have a letter dated October the 18th, 2013 from Willebrator regarding the discharge monitoring report. September 2013 report in its entirety, again, is available for review in the mayor's office during normal business hours. We also have a letter dated October the 24th, 2013 from Willebrator regarding the third quarter tonnage report. And again, if there were questions pertaining to any one of the reports, they are available in the mayor's office during normal business hours.
Just to point out on the quarterly, third quarter report, we are seeing a significant amount of ash coming in from
Yes, I
locations.
noticed that. I was gonna ask you that.
second quarter in a row that we basically, you know, seen significant national news.
I know the tonnage reports have been very.
And still, the
very
good news is based on the allotment that we're, you know, we still have more than, if it were, based on the 20-year contract, if you were looking at it over the half period, we have more than half of our capacity still left. So,
Yeah. Very good, thank you all. Item 6 is reports of standing committees, General Government Committee. Almer, anything to update or?
No updates, still waiting on Chief Hayes. I don't know if he's gotten in touch with Doug with any dates or anything.
he's had a.
Yeah, he's been under the weather.
Okay.
He spent some time at UMass.
Performance evaluations.
I'd like to set up a general government committee meeting so we can go over my review with the management.
Yep. And the finance committee had the economic development fund, so we gotta get together and get that from them.
We're gonna
also.
be back to the economic development fund with our homework that they gave us on
Okay.
that fund, so.
So I guess we can schedule a meeting, but we won't be able to handle all of the stuff. We'll probably just be able to handle the performance evaluations and
Maybe codification.
maybe some of the codification. So we'll just have to set a date, Doug.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Almer. Questions of Almer, anyone? Thank you, Almer. Item 7 is reports of special committees. Item A is Wheelabrator Contract Review Committee. Doug, anything further?
I have not heard back from Little Bit.
They-
Their meeting might be this week or
It-
next. So.
Their meeting was scheduled to be November 1st.
November 1st.
So I believe that we'll start to hear something from Wheelabrator very shortly. Item B is the Charter Revision Study Committee, Doug.
Waiting for the dust to settle after the election.
Very good. And item C is Department Facility Study Group.
We have a
I know
meeting
we're
scheduled sometime
Yeah.
after the election.
I talked to Alan last week, and we were in the process of scheduling that up. Item 8 is staff reports. Economic and Community Development, it's not a reporting meeting. Building officials, EO report, it's not a reporting meeting. Town planner report, again, not a reporting meeting. Item 9 is the town administrator's report.
Kind of lengthy administrative report, but I'll go through it briefly. Bond anticipation notes, we finally put together the official statement for the bond anticipation notes. The interim financing that we are seeking for the different projects is totaling a little less than $12 million when it was finally settled out in terms of how much we needed for the interim financing from end of November through next November. We're going to be doing it in 2 lots. One will be based on the wastewater treatment plant financing. Since we're expecting to close that project out in February, we expect that we'll be able to close on the loan through USDA, so we will not have to carry the full financing for the sewer plant project through until November. So that will be taken care of in February. Then the remainder will be the lift station projects, the 2 water projects, which are the main East Treatment Building and the water line relining and replacement projects. And then also some interim financing for the design aspect and some of the also consultant work on the high school project. So that's moving forward, and we'll know basically November 25th how well we did in terms of what the interest rate will be on those bands. And we expect that it will be in the same range as we've had in the past, which is about 1%. So pretty good financing on our part. This financing package, because of all the ins and outs of the various types of financing that we're receiving, whether it's grants and loans from USDA, whether it's the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, whether it's even the town of Putnam's own money put into the projects, it was quite an extensive process in terms of putting all the authorizing documents together. We have to go through and make sure that we have all the complete work done by whether it was the WPCA, the Selectmen, the Planning Commission, and the Board of Finance, and then the town meeting and referendum. And on each of these projects, we have a packet that's required, and Sarah has to certify that all these meetings were held, and they were held properly, and the right wording was in place. So it's been an interesting process, and hopefully one that we won't necessarily have to go through again. But it was kind of fun to do, but a lot of work. The high school building committee, I attend meetings of the committee, and I work with our construction manager. We review the various bids on the land survey and hazardous materials testing and remediation components. The lowest bids were awarded for the survey work to Swamp Yankee and our EnviroMed services for the hazardous materials. I'm in the process now of awarding those bids to them and getting the agreements back to be signed by the mayor to allow them to go forward. We're hoping on the environmental, the hazardous materials work, that some of it can be done over the Thanksgiving vacation period. They've also shortlisted 3 firms for the commissioning agent selection. I believe the committee went to be those firms tomorrow night? Thursday night. And they will have a final selection before the end of November for the commissioning agents. Bowl Street, as I mentioned when the question was asked during public period, we attended a pre-trial conference on October 23rd with town attorney St. Hodge. The possible settlement is still in the works, and there will be another pre-trial conference in the middle of November. The 30-day pilot parking plan expired on Friday, November 1st, and the barriers were removed, or I guess the barriers haven't been removed, but they've been taken down.
Some of them,
The chains have been taken down.
yeah.
But they should be removed.
They removed the chain.
Right.
Chains,
Okay.
But the barriers are still
Still
there.
there, okay.
So they gotta be removed.
Right. NECOG, I attended the monthly meeting of the council, and the council is discussing projects in the state's regional performance incentive program. Again, this is something that we'll have to do before the end of December in terms of the town of Putnam participating in any of the potential RPI projects which are listed here. One I would like to add for consideration, if it's the wishes of the board, is to consider a regional blight control and enforcement program. And in addition, NECOG has also expanded by 3 towns, Scotland, Hampton, and Chatham. As you know, Wyndham COG has basically gone out of business. So the various towns have gone off to various neighboring COGs. In some cases, I believe Wyndham and Tallinn and Stores, Mansfield is going to the Capital Regional Council of Governments. Some of them are going, some of the ones on the southern end are going to the Southeast Connecticut Council of Governments, and then these 3 towns have joined with NECOG. So we're hoping that when we go back, because the state has tried to cut down on the number of council of governments, and we're hoping that they'll accept that with these 3 towns that we would be considered a council of governments for the purposes of the state of Connecticut. So if it's possible, could we add that as an agenda item to consider the blight control enforcement program? Tonight, if it's possible. You want to think about it? We have, because the next meeting of the Council of Governments is in the end of the month, so if you want, we can wait till
Why do we
then.
have to have it by December 1st?
Okay.
Why, I mean, do we have to have?
Because we have to take action on it in terms of submitting the application before sometime in December, Barney.
Okay, and who else has got a blight on?
I would think Killenly would be involved, Thompson would be involved, Plainfield would be involved. Any town that has multi-family housing and a lot of foreclosed property. And the only reason I added this is because I'm, as I mentioned further down in my report, I'm on the Blight Task Force at the state of Connecticut. And this is one of those issues that is causing a lot of concern with a lot of towns. And so I'd like to be in a position where, acting on the recommendations of the Blight Task Force, that we have an enforcement mechanism in place.
But what I read on it is that it's not, the state isn't gonna come out with anything until
Just February, right.
So,
Well, this thing won't take place right away either.
and there we have nothing in the budget for it at this point, so would we adopt it, would we have to make a transfer, or we pry it to?
No, the way it would work probably is if we get the regional performance incentive, that money would be coming from the state initially.
Okay.
But again, as you know, whenever the state's involved with money, you never know what's gonna be down the line in terms of how that would be available.
And I would assume this would take some time to process
Right,
anyway.
exactly.
Yeah.
Our Pride, our drug-free coalition, I also took place in their drug take-back day on October 26th. We had 61 vehicles and 2 walkers dropped off unused prescriptions, and they totaled over 120 pounds. And fall typically is not our biggest drug take-back period for whatever reason. And particularly if we hold it later in October, we seem to get a better result if we have it in September. But still, we expected it to drop off significantly because of our permanent lockbox that we have down at the Putnam Police Department. So we were still, not enthused, but, having over 120 pounds, it was still a good take, so. And we have rehired Romeo Blackmar as our Cook Free Communities Program project coordinator, and Romeo and I will be attending a new grantees meeting down in Washington in the middle of December. Facility Improvement Award, I'm happy to say that I also was able to participate on a Putnam delegation, and we attended the Kinetic Conference of the Atlantic States Rural Water and Wastewater Association. Because of the work that we did on the Putnam sewer plant, that we received the Atlantic States Annual Facility Improvement Award. And again, it's presented to the WPCA in recognition of our commitment to ongoing training and advancement to wastewater technology. And again, it was based on the $18.8 million rehab and renovation program of the sewer plant. And the plant is rated now basically it hasn't been designed with the new rehabilitation renovation to have an average daily design flow of 2.3 million gallons per day of domestic and industrial wastewater. And the equipment upgrade included odor control and UV disinfection. And instead of using chemicals, we're going to be using UV. We'd like to not only go to the WPCA and its staff, but also to USDA Rural Development for their financial assistance. And Fuss and O'Neill, who were the consulting engineers on the design of the plant, and also C.H. Nickerson, who's been a great general contractor to work on this project. The Quinebaug Regional Tech Park and YMCA, Town Attorney Sainaj and I are working on a draft agreement with Wheelgrader Controlling Petitions, which will put in place the transfer of their 62-acre parcel to the town. Phase 2 archaeological investigation on 2 sites in the tech park have been done and expect to be completed in 2 weeks. And we expect that final report by the end of December. And we've also had test pits drilled or dug at 2 stormwater infiltration areas and at the existing roadway to confirm the location of existing high-pressure gas main. And a deed for breaking the I-395 non-access line has been drafted, and an overall project management scheduling chart has been developed and incorporates all major milestones with the timelines, and incorporates bridge construction, road construction, and the YMCA construction into one master schedule. And once that, I'm meeting with Don Johnson tomorrow, and so once that I see a final draft version of that, I'll be glad to provide that and share it with the board. The Blight Task Force, I mentioned earlier, I serve on the Council of Small Towns Costs as a representative to this task force. And our charge includes creating model blight ordinances and proposed legislative solutions to allow municipalities to more effectively address blight. At the second meeting that we recently had, we heard presentations from the people that draft or write the International Property Maintenance Code, a town planner from Manchester, and economic development director, the economic and town planner from Manchester, and a presentation by the Connecticut Bankers Association. And again, one of the big concerns of the group is how to effectively address foreclosed properties and who is the responsible party for keeping those properties maintained. And we have until February 5th to submit a report to the next session of the next Sunday. On the regional center, after meeting with the Planning Commission and facing November 1 deadline on the town's intention whether or not to pursue the acquisition, we've notified the state of our intention not to pursue the acquisition at this time. What they will follow now is a public request for proposals, and the town will be given the opportunity to match any proposals that come back, or the proposal that the state feels is the best fit for the property. And we still have a possible option of pursuing it from Dansville in the upcoming session of the General Assembly. And finally, the Board of Finance, I've attached for your information that was handed out of the Board of Finance, which is the town of Putnam's budget final. And again, this is it's unaudited, so until we get the actual result, but it gives you a pretty good indication of where we ended up at the end of the fiscal year and where we stand in terms of our budget surplus, and also some of the expenditures that were made in various categories. And they did approve various budget transfers. We did significantly well in terms of not spending money on fringe benefits, which is basically our health insurance premiums. And so they used some of that money to go forward with some of the proposed line item transfers. And they totaled about $68,000. So And we transferred other funds over, the remainder of the study fund for the library project, and also reserve for accrued absences of 20,000. So that's provided for your information.
Big report, Doug, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions of Doug, anyone?
Yeah, Doug, I got one question. Bond anticipation, I was reading the last audit, and there was some concern at the auditors about the amount of bonding that we're doing in WPCA. Is that a red flag we're gonna have to worry about?
No, based on what happened when we put into place we staggered the increases in terms of the fee increases for the sewer and water.
Right.
So we've been able to build up a reserve until we get the final financing in place. So that reserve will be able to be used towards, once we get the final numbers of the principal and interest that we'll be paying on these various projects.
Is that what they're concerned about, the auditors, is that there isn't enough in reserve? When these bonds, they're paying 1% now, but when it goes to the 2 or 3%, when we go out 20 years on these bonds?
There would be a concern unless we didn't have this reserve. If we didn't have this reserve, then there would be more concerns. But because we were able to phase in the increases before the permit financing put into place, we're going to have that reserve. And the other thing that has come up is in terms of, same thing we do with our general government or the general fund budget, is that they build up, it's not a surplus in the same way that we do because it's an enterprise fund. But some of that surplus is also going to be able to be used in that reserve. And it's not necessarily dedicated for the payment of the principal and interest, but the feeling of WPCA is that it will be used for that purpose. So, and the way that the rate structure, the rate fee analysis was done, was contemplating all of these. In fact, they went up on the water rate for specifically that reason in terms of these projects. So we're going to continue to monitor it. We were close on the sewer side, and that was because we were very close on the sewer side, but we're going to continue to monitor that and make sure that we're going to be in good shape.
Second thing, Quinnipiac Technology Park. I looked at the plans, and I've been looking at the plans, and I looked at what Don Johnson put out, the spreadsheet about starting up and everything else. The only thing I didn't see attached to it is where's the money coming from and how much it's going to cost.
That's a good thing to put on there.
Yeah, but I mean, I haven't seen, do we have any idea where this money, I know we got, the steep grant's going to take us up to the bridge. I know that. All the funding and the paving and everything else. But on the other side of the bridge, it's going to drop off. We'll put the gravel we get, but who's going to pay for the infrastructure? We got water, sewer, electrical, drainage?
In one case, we're applying for USDA funds for the water line, and incorporated within the water line
Extension.
grant is the extension of that. So we're hoping to get both a grant and a loan on the water line extension, a grant and a loan on the sewer line extension. And how we plan to have that paid for is under benefit assessment to the users.
Okay, but how about the road and the drainage?
We're hoping the road and the drainage will come in on the budget, but
On what budget? The
on
town budget?
No, on the
No.
2.97 million and the 319,000. But again, that was a couple of years ago when those estimates were together.
Yeah,
So
so
we're holding our fingers.
I mean, I think that we have to, as a board here, have available to us what it's going to cost us. So all of a sudden, this thing doesn't drop out of the sky, and then we look like egg on our face because we haven't asked the question.
Right.
That's all I'm concerned about.
Right.
If somehow we can come up with some cost figures, where the money's coming from, and what type of grants would be attached to this, I think I'd feel a lot more secure. Because I'm looking at a lot of paperwork, and I don't see no funding for it, and it gets me nervous.
Right. I'll have that available for you
Okay,
next meeting.
thank you.
Doug, on this you gonna talk? Sorry. On this NECOG thing, you got a cattery and trap and odor release program management. Have they discussed that at all down there?
Yes, they have.
Did I hear correctly that they're going to build a building for these cats for $700,000?
I don't know if it's 700,000, but they're looking seriously at that as a.
That's the number I heard.
The options.
Put cats in. They can't be serious.
Well, we're not gonna participate in that.
Good. Thank you. That's one of my questions. We part of this?
Again, if they go forward with a spay and neuter program, then we're not gonna need to have a place for it.
I agree. 700,000, you raise kids in $150,000 house, you gonna put cats in $700,000 buildings? Okay, thank you, Doug.
Use it for a town hall.
Yeah.
Let's give it this.
Yeah.
Put it with the cash, please. Sorry.
It is an expansion.
Well, it's gonna be named after Bruce Benway, of course, he's leaving, he's retired.
Bruce Benway's at the house, or?
That's
Wonder how his heirs will like that.
Oh, he'll be enjoying retirement in me. He'll even know.
Any further questions of Doug? Any further construction questions? Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Unfinished business, item A, Quinnipiac Regional Technology Park and Bridge. We delivered a donation of land draft agreement. Will it be going into executive session?
No, not at this point.
All right. Item B is state disposition of surplus property, 380 Pomfret Street. Doug spoke of that already. Item C is smoke-free municipal property. Is there anything further there, Doug? Michael?
Unless Mike has.
No. So that'll continue on. Item D is Mary Crest Drive update. Doug, do we have an update there?
You have in your packet a questionnaire that we sent out to
Right.
all the butters on Mary Crest Drive to ask them their input. This is work that Denise put together for us, and so I don't know if
Have
we've
we-
heard
any
anything back
feedback?
yet.
Nothing.
When did you put it out? When was this put out?
Friday, Thursday or Friday.
So it's early.
Oh, okay, so they haven't had a chance to answer this yet.
No.
Because I do know some of the landowners that really wanna come and talk about this.
Okay,
But, notes have been sent out, so we'll get some feedback.
that'd be good.
Did we ever find out where we own land, remember I asked you?
No, we
to
never been able to track that down because we don't have, there's no deed per se for that because it's
Well, could we just go off the deed from the old, you would remember the Smells Auto Body, but the Lincoln place? See
See
what
where
their
that
deed goes to, and what they don't own from there up through, we own it.
Yeah, okay.
I'd really like to know where his property ends and where that starts for this.
Item E is the rehabilitation area tax deferral program, and I see Lee is here tonight to talk about that a little bit. I know that,
Wasn't his recommendation not to approve
it
that?
was Lee, I was gonna say, that was Lee's recommendation, initially when this was brought before the board, that, it did not qualify.
Right, I was under the understanding that it was a blighted property. I don't believe that property was blighted. The contractor, the owner blighted it when they remodeled it. Before the new owner took over, it was a car wash and a laundromat, which wasn't in use at the time, but it wasn't a blighted property like over here at the mill. You have the package?
We do.
Okay. Another thing that we noticed down in the building department, they pulled a permit on my glasses, excuse my attire too, pulled a permit on $656,000, and if you read on, his cost was $840,000, and there was no demolition permit pulled for this property either, so, and it wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't a blighted property, it was just an unused property at the time it started construction.
Questions of the board?
Do you get a second bite of the apple with this?
This is a new thing, so there was nothing in the ordinance that described a reconsideration.
So if we don't reconsider it,
It
it stays the
stands.
same, so we could just
Let it stand.
manage that.
All right.
I mean, I do have a question. At the time, I mean, the blight ordinance was passed, with its definition of blighted, was passed long after the tax abatement was.
Right.
I don't recall the tax abatement provisions giving any clear definition of blighted. What,
I believe that the 1991 came into effect or something. It's the first two
Okay.
that's ever come through the office, so.
Okay.
I mean, and like I said, that was a operable car wash up until 2 years ago, and the laundromat was there too. The construction, they brought the construction, moved walls, the whole 9 yards, so
Right.
I don't believe it was not a blighted or a rundown property or whatever, you know what I mean? I was sent out there to take a look at it
Right.
when it was what it was and what they redid. Beautiful now, obviously, but I didn't feel it qualified for what that ordinance said.
How long was it vacant between when the car wash closed and he started, or he bought the property?
Couple of years.
It was a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't any structural damage, you know, the thing
Right.
wasn't falling in, I mean, so.
Lee, wouldn't it have been, you know, it should have been their interest at the time they began the project to come before the board as well?
I would-
Until, you know, not waiting until the property has been fully renovated,
Right. This
come
is-
before.
I've been here 9, 10 years, this is the first time it's ever come up,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
And he's done a wonderful job, you know, at the facility.
Yeah.
It's remarkable what a difference it makes over on South Main Street, so. Dr. Botter is, I'm certain is gonna be a good neighbor to, Putnam for a long time to come. And, you know, all the other, folks that he's brought in, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a real good thing for that area. Thank you all. All right, item F is the retirement, buyback, set a town meeting date. Doug, or Denise, do we have a date, in mind?
November 18th at 7:30.
Do I have a motion to that effect? Owen was the motion, Alma was the second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. Bonnie abstained, no?
Twice.
Twice?
Twice.
He wasn't here questioning his wife.
Yeah. Before I continue, Doug, did we want to add, I didn't mean to slide by you.
No.
We're going to let it work through? Okay, very good.
Did you able to comment on the foundational?
Yes.
It's all signed.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Way ahead of you,
Down
Doug.
back
Way ahead of
there.
you, huh?
Yeah.
Item 11, new business consideration of granting a temporary pistol permit to Andrew Peterson of 32 Hurry Hill Road. What would be your
So
pleasure?
moved.
Second.
A motion and a second discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Andrew, congratulations.
It was tough, huh, Andrew?
Like you tried to buy bullets.
Find us, I guess. Item B is consideration of granting a temporary pistol permit to Christopher St. Orange. Christopher?
Yes, sir.
No, there you are.
So moved, second.
A motion by Barney, second by.
Get ahead.
A motion by Barney, second by. Second. Mr. Loomis. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item C is consideration and reappointment of Democrat Paul Pecora of 86 Heritage Road to the redevelopment agency for a term to expire 10/31/2017. The Economic Community Development Agency for a term to expire December the 5th, 2017. What would be a pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item D is approval of bills.
I make the motion we pay all approved bills.
Second. A motion and a second discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item E is all of the business lawfully come before such meeting. Hearing none. Item 12 is public comment. Would there be further public comment this evening? Yes, sir.
Sam Doge, 194 School Street. I was just wondering, since you said that you were in discussions for settling this deal on Pole Street, what are you discussing?
I'm not at liberty to say right now, but,
Well, I want the man to get his fence and his guardrail, and I want to be able to park there. Does it look like that's gonna happen?
I'm not at liberty to say since we're still in the courts, so.
You're killing it.
It's moving forward, Sam, I guess, maybe that's the way to put it, it's moving
Yeah.
forward. It is, moving forward.
When will we be able to
We'll
openly
know
discuss
what's
what's
the
going
date,
on there?
November 18th. Oh, no. Can't be November 18th.
No, this is the one.
November 20th.
November 20th?
Yeah.
Could we go into executive session if you don't have nothing by then, just to discuss it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Be pleased to do that. Further public comment? Hearing none, item 13 is adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in the second, discussion, all those in favor say aye.